Welcome back to My Best Friend's an Engineer. I'm Lexi.
And I'm Libby, and today we're going to do an episode all about work travel. So we both recently traveled for work. We have some experiences that we want to share with you guys, and then also some tips. But before we get into it, how's it going, Lexi? I feel like I haven't talked to you in so long.
It's been good. So like you mentioned, we have both been traveling. So this past week I was in New Jersey from Monday through Thursday. And I was on an audit trip. So that was, it was fun. It was draining though. It was completely draining. Yeah. So I'll go into detail about it later, about like what auditing is. But I was like, oh my God. So today I literally just chilled. I just like unpacking everything. But yeah, and now I have to catch up on all my real work because they kind of like let me in on the audit trip because I told them I was interested in auditing. So yeah, but busy. I went to Boston last weekend.
Oh yeah, I saw that for St. Patrick's Day.
Yes, everyone is so mean there.
Mean, really?
I don't know if you've ever been
like just sassy. Yes,
or so sassy. Oh my God, I was like.
My gosh.
It was fun because it was our group was fun, but we have very good stories to tell of like, it was just crazy. I was like, oh my God, such an attitude from everyone. I was like, just chilling. And you know me, because I'm like not confrontational at all. So yeah. I was just like, very like, okay. I'm like, it's okay.
Did you guys hit up the town? Any fun bars you go to? Or was it mostly like you guys just had a friend group that you were with?
We did some tourist stuff. We did like a little trolley around the city, but it's pretty small. It's smaller than I thought it would be. And then, we did try to hit some of the pubs because I feel like they have very cute, like old,
old-fashioned,
looking, old themed.
Historical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't serve us because we had out-of-state IDs. They're like, these are fake. And I was like, I have my boarding pass right here. Yeah, I was like, okay, gosh. I completely understand. It's probably, because it was like St. Patrick's Day, and I'm like, I know that it's big there, so I was like, okay, totally fine. But I was like, okay, if I showed you my boarding pass, like, will you believe that this is literally me coming from Chicago? And the guy like kind of was like, but he's like, but it's a rule. I was like, okay.
It's so a rule, so they have a rule that they don't serve people with out-of-state IDs.
I think it was just that bar. I think we just unfortunately picked one. It was like right next to the hotel too, because it was like the first one we went to. I was like, all right, going on a good start. But what else? I mean, the food was really good. We went to Little Italy for dinner one day. What else did we do? We did Southie on Sunday. So I saw some friends from Miami, actually. So it's like a different part. It's not near the downtown area, but it's like, it kind of feels like a college town. I feel like people who are from Boston listening to this are probably like, oh my God, that's so wrong. But so I knew people from Miami there. So that was honestly the most fun just because everyone was nice and like we saw the parade. So that was cool. But yeah, I mean, other than that, it was just like everyone was just so sassy. I was like, okay. Because it's like, I feel like in the Midwest, you walk around, you like, people are willing to talk to you and like, I don't know, and just be like, oh, hello, how are you? Like, the nicest people we met there were literally, the nicest people we met there were literally from Ireland and the UK, which there were a good amount. So that was very interesting. But I loved the accents. We had some good friends. I was just like, please keep talking. I was like, but yeah, I was honestly very surprised. Like a lot of people from the UK and just Ireland. I was like, what are you doing here? Same thing we were doing there, I guess. So.
Oh my gosh.
But
so now
so a lot of travel.
And now you're just chilling, having a weekend just to catch up and lay low.
Yes, we cleaned, we deep cleaned today. We unpacked finally.
Spring cleaning. Love to see it.
Spring cleaning. Almost. It snowed today.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if it snowed up in Wisconsin, but
yeah.
But
I feel like we got our little like tease of summer. We had a couple days here that were like 60, 70, and now it snowed again. So, of course.
Perfect.
But my week was good. We recently just finished the show Inventing Anna. Have you heard of it or seen it?
Oh my God, have I heard of it? I love it.
Did you watch it? Did you finish it?
Oh yeah. Oh
my gosh.
What
do you think about it? Oh, we binged it too.
I was just intrigued. I loved it. I was shocked. Who knows how true it is? Yeah, who knows how true, because they try to make it more entertaining. But I loved it. I was like, oh my god, I wish I don't wish to be like her, but I'm just saying, like, she was just she could get anyone to do anything that she wanted, like, and they never questioned it. I was so shocked
that they never questioned it. Like, I could not believe, and you are right. Like, in the beginning of every episode, it says like, this story is completely true except for all the parts that are made up. I loved that they put that in the beginning of every episode, but I don't understand how these people, like, just kept just helping her, or, like, working with her. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe that's just the culture, but I was shocked.
Yeah. No, so I would think if someone told me what she said, I'd be like, girl, stop. Like, I don't know what the character's name was that did it really well. She worked at the hotel. It was, like, her closest friend. I feel like she kind of put her in her place.
Was her name... Oh, that's going to bother me now, but I know exactly who you're talking about. I don't remember what her name is, though.
Yeah.
Nessie?
Yeah.
Maybe? I don't know.
I'm not sure. Yeah. But I feel like she put her in her place. Like, she would, like, in my head, I'd respond. And, like, she would respond things that I'd, like, respond. I was like, thank God, finally, someone. But,
well, I don't understand how, like, all the people that were working with her who would require, like, a deposit, and she just kept being like, oh, it'll be there Monday. Oh, it'll be there Friday. Like, oh, it's coming. Oh, international banking. Like, I don't like, at some point, when are you like, I can't work with you until I get like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how people just kept working with her.
Yeah, I don't know. But also, like, I'm a pushover myself. So, like, I get it. I'm like, okay, fine. I totally see that side. But, yeah, no, that was crazy. But now I'm starting to watch Bridgerton.
Oh, we have not watched Bridgerton. I tried to get into it a little bit, but I feel like I watched the first episode and I couldn't, like, get into it for some reason.
Yeah, it takes a little bit. I feel like it's a classic romance, but the second season came out today, or yesterday, so I'm so excited. So we'll indulge.
I know. I am so bad at shows. My friend Rachel was the one who suggested Inventing Anna, and I was like, no, I can't watch it. And then I was watching Euphoria, and I was like, oh, you can't watch it, because every time I get into a show that I, like, really like, or, like, always ends on a cliffhanger or whatever, I have no self-control. It will be 3 a.m. on a Wednesday, like, I have to work the next day, and I'm like, next episode, so I, like, have to be careful with what I decide to watch and when, because I'm like, I know that if I like it, I'm gonna get sucked in, and I'm not gonna be able to stop, so we'll see what I watch next.
Yes, I completely agree. I'm the same way. I don't want to indulge in any shows, but I'm like, okay, this is good to, like, watch on the treadmill while I work out. Maybe, I don't know.
Right.
But again, I just laid in bed and watched 4 episodes in a row. So I'm like, how good is that? I need to Pavlov my way into, like, watching Netflix only when I'm working out or something. But
yeah. So that's all we did, and nothing else. I feel like this is kind of, I don't know, like, a boring time of the year. You know, like, there's not really too many holidays going on. I mean, I guess St. Patrick's Day and, like, Easter's coming up, but I feel like I've just been against the work grind, and that's pretty much all I've got for an update.
Yeah, it's busy season, right?
It's busy season, yeah. So
how's it going? How are we feeling?
It's going well. There are definitely every day something new, but, like, so far it's really not bad. My boss called me the other day, and he was like, Libby, you haven't called me freaking out in 3 days. Like, are you okay? What's going on? And I just laughed, and I was like, everything is good. Like, that's a good thing. That means I'm handling it. But I think everyone else is just, like, so stressed out, like all the other project managers with their projects. So he was probably like, okay, I don't know if this is a bad thing or a good thing that you haven't freaked out yet. I'm like, I think I'm doing okay.
Good. Are the other project managers, like, your age? Were you all hired in, like, a class?
No. So, and it's so funny because when I first got hired, everybody in my group was like, oh, I'm so surprised that they hired someone right out of college. Like, I got a lot of those comments. Everybody, like, has kids, or, like, their kids are in college, so very...
Oh, wow.
Like, I think the next youngest person in my project management group is, like, my mentor / boss, who... he's got 3 kids who are all, like, under the age of 3. It's crazy. And I think he's, like, mid-30s, so.
Okay. Every time I think of your boss, I think of your comment of you saying that he's building an army. That's what I think about every time.
I know. Literally, I hate myself when he's like, yeah, I don't know if you heard, but my wife and I are pregnant with our third. I was like, oh man, you're building an army over there. Like, why would I say that? Oh my god. But yes, so awkward.
Letting the intrusive thoughts win.
Always. Let's transition a little bit into starting off the topics for our episode. But before we do that, should we read off some reviews that we've gotten recently?
Yes, definitely. So I can start with one of the Apple Podcast reviews that we got. So just a back story of this. Go leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and once we get 100 reviews, we're going to give away a $100 Visa gift card for whatever you want to indulge in.
Money, money, money!
So you can buy whatever you want. But
whatever you want.
Because we were thinking steel-toed boots, like that'd be cute, but some people don't use them in engineering, so we're going to give you guys full reign. But
hell yeah.
So this person said, love this podcast, not even an engineer, but I am a woman in STEM and I'm obsessed. Love to hear you ladies talk about literally anything. Perfect. I hope you enjoy us talking about Inventing Anna today in Netflix.
I love that. This person left a review on our Google form, and for those who don't know, we have a Google form for you guys to enter the giveaway, and it'll be in the show notes, and it's also in the link in our bio, so check that out. But this person left, definitely would love to hear an episode about workwear and looking cute at work, because this is something I've struggled with since starting to intern. I love wearing cute outfits and wearing bright colors and doing my hair, but I'm so nervous to stick out in an office full of dudes wearing the same boring browns, blues, blacks, and whites, and also how and where to find cute and affordable PPE. I love the pod so much that I literally binged all the episodes in 2 days. Keep doing what you guys are doing because it's been so helpful and confidence boosting for me. Love you guys. I love that, and you guys know that we could talk forever about cute clothes and where to find them and how to wear them at work, so stay tuned for more on that.
Oh yes, and we'll talk about workwear with travel today. So that'll be good.
Yes.
We'll touch on that.
I think that's a great way to transition into today's episode. So I think we have a little bit of an outline of what we want to cover for the topic of traveling for work, but we figured it might be best to just give an overview or description of like what we each do when we travel for work, because it's both a little bit different. So Lexi, since you just got back from a work trip, why don't you go ahead and get started and kind of share with us what you do?
Yes. Okay, so I'll talk about the most recent work trip. So that actually was not related to my position at all. So I am in validation, which does require some travel, so I'll talk about that after. But this trip was strictly an audit trip. So this one is kind of like I had my yearly review and my boss was like, oh, what departments or divisions would you be interested in? And I don't know why, but I'm really interested in auditing. I think it'd be so fun. Obviously, you need a lot of experience, so I feel like I was very overwhelmed in the beginning because I have coming up on 2 years now. But like it was crazy, like sitting there and just going through these documents of this vendor and just asking them questions like why they did this, why they did that. And I'm like, oh my God, they have PhDs. Like it was crazy. Jeez. It was just so overwhelming. Yeah. But I loved it. Like the senior auditor I was with, she's great. I learned so much and I'm so grateful for that opportunity. So, I mean, it's just like so demanding though, because she was saying how she's going to Mexico tomorrow, like Sunday morning. And then after, like next week, she's going to France. Like she does 3 audits in 1 week. So we did 2 actually because the facilities were close to each other. So for those types of trips, basically, you go through all the documentation. You have different subjects you want to focus on, and you look at their documentation regarding those topics. And then you just go through it and you just make sure everything's up to date. So it's just a lot of like literally 9 hours straight. We did not stop looking at documentation. It was crazy. Jeez. I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah. And when I think of, auditors, I think of the Wolf of Wall Street, like auditing scene where they made the room really cold and they kept bringing binders. I'm not saying like the vendor made the room really cold or anything, but
Yeah.
it literally was just stacks and stacks of binders. Like I would like request something and they'd like sigh a little bit, and I'm like, I can't say I'm
Aw.
sorry, but like in
You're
my
like,
head I
"I'm
was like, oh
sorry."
God. Yeah. So it was like also learning that fine line of trying to be, straightforward with also being like, I feel like I'm a little bit of a pushover and just too nice in general. I don't know. I just feel like I overthink
Yeah.
everything. I'm like, oh, I hope I didn't make him sad. So it was very
Yeah.
interesting, like finding that, line in between. Like that senior auditor, I was asking for feedback after the first day, and she's like, you don't have to say excuse me or like wait for them to stop talking, ask questions. You could just ask them. I was like,
Aw.
okay, I'll get there. I was like, I'll get there. But so yeah, that was this most recent trip, which differs significantly from like a validation trip. So for that, I actually have one coming up next week. So we're going to a new facility and just looking at all of their their manufacturing floor, looking at all the machines they have, looking at their processes and just trying to understand everything. So on these types of trips, we look at the documentation that they have currently. We just make sure it's up to date, and then I take a bunch of pictures of like all the machines so that if I do have to do drafting remotely, I know what the machine is.
Okay.
And then what else? And then sometimes they want execution help, but I feel like so execution is like actually like taking the samples or running the process or something. But I think they have operators for that usually per site.
Okay.
So it's kind of just like getting the bearings of the site usually. And yeah. So
For
that was
going back to why am I drawing a blank? Going back to auditing. Oh my gosh, that you talked about in the first time. Would you ever consider like a career change into doing auditing like that after this experience?
So my boss asked me that actually when I got back. I love auditing. I just, it was draining. Like I was so tired.
Yeah.
I told them, I said I would love to help out with auditing here and there when they need it because they need some resources. I mean, auditing, it's just such a high turnaround because people can't keep up with this traveling somewhere new every week. It's just insane. I admire them. I was telling her, I was like, I can't believe you do this every week.
Yeah.
I think I wouldn't completely switch to auditing unless I was able to do less travel. But I think definitely I'm going to try and like help out where I can. Because that's kind of what my boss does too. When they need someone, he's there, just because he has experience with that. So, but the thing is, like, I'm like wondering how, to be good at auditing, you have to do it. It's like something where you can prepare all you want, but then you come into something and you have to like figure out a solution right away. So I'm like, well, are they going to even want me to keep going if I don't consistently audit with them? So that's like something I'm like questioning, but I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
That's pretty cool that your company
right now,
like talked about it with you and you were like, oh, this is something I'm interested in. They're like, oh, okay, like we have this project that you can come like kind of shadow, it sounds like.
I know. Yeah, it was literally such a fast turnaround too. It was like 2 months after our conversation, which I feel like in a large company, it kind of takes a few months, like not 2. So yeah, so I was super grateful for that. But yeah, right now, not a complete career change for sure, but I don't know. Definitely would want to do it more in the future.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah. How about you?
Well.
So when you go on your Florida trips, tell us all about it.
So when I go to work trips for my current role, they are typically during an outage. So the project is in the execution phase. And sometimes, I think before COVID, a lot of times project managers would go in the bidding phase. So when a bunch of like different companies are learning from the client what they're looking for before they quote the work, you go to a power plant to like ask questions in person and like walk down the plant and see what the layout looks like and take pictures. But I haven't actually done one of those visits yet. So I have had 3 work trips so far working in my position in the past 2 years, and they have always been in the execution phase. And basically we go for like 1 to 2 days on site, and when I say on site, it's basically the power plant that has come offline and we're doing the inspection and refurbishment work at. And really these trips are pretty cool because they're essentially just like a touch point for the customer and myself to like interface with each other and meet each other. So not too much like actual technical work being done, at least in my experiences so far. Like sometimes I've heard from other project managers, they like go and they might discover something crazy while they're on site, and then they're like working tirelessly with the customer to like propose solutions. But like the one that I just did when we went to Florida, we just were literally like looking at the stuff that had been disassembled. Okay, looks good, take some pictures, send it back to the people in Milwaukee, be like, this is what you should expect when the stuff comes off the truck when we ship it from the power plant to our shop in Milwaukee. And yeah, that's pretty much the gist of like an overview of what I do on work trips. And we typically go in the mornings. We have to attend the safety training before we can enter the site. We'll get there around like 7:30ish. Our site technical advisor people will have like a trailer on the turbine deck where they have just like a little desk and work area. So we'll go drop our stuff off in there, maybe do a walk down of the power plant, talk with the customer, see if they have anything that they want us to specifically look at. And then we kind of spend the day going back and forth between like trying to quickly get work done on our laptops in the trailer with the technical advisor and like talking with him and seeing how things are going. And then like the other half of the time is spent like walking down the power plant. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of what I'm doing when I travel for work.
Very fun. So you mentioned there are some PMs that go and they kind of quote these projects. Would that be something you're ever interested in? Because that kind of brings in like a lot of like the business side of things.
Yeah, so it kind of depends customer to customer. I think I think before COVID, that was a lot more the normal where the PM would go and be there during the bidding phase with like everybody else. But a lot of times now, if it's a big outage, they just send us an RFP, request for proposal. And so I haven't heard of like too many people doing that for a lot of customers. Like I think maybe a lot of times we're quoting in like the summertime, early fall. And I think this past fall, we only had one person go to one of those pre-bid meetings. So I think it just kind of depends. But yeah, I haven't been on one of those yet, but maybe in the future.
Very exciting. We should probably talk about frequency of travel too. Like how often do you think you have to go to these clients? And like, is it a repeat client or...
So for me personally, each outage season we have different clients. So typically, I'm really only able to get one site visit in per outage season. So we have our outage seasons are spring and fall. So I will do one trip in the spring and one trip in the fall. And yeah, the relationship between the customer and I really only lasts like the duration of the project. So, you know, the big one I'm currently doing is 3 months. But what about you? I feel like you travel more than I do for work.
So with auditing, that's every week. That's somewhere new every week, which is crazy. Just because I know I admire them so much. Like she was like, oh, I'm going to Mexico on Sunday, and then I'm going to France, and then we have a Spain one that's fun. Like I'm like, oh my god, that's so cool. But like, you know, at the same time, you're just so tired. You don't even have time to like enjoy like the country.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, unless you like take an extra day or like go on the weekend. But so that one every day, it's like somewhere new. Like that's auditing. Validation, I think we've been working with a lot of, you know, newer sites, so it's more common now, and I feel like everyone is like, oh my god, we need help, like production will stop if we don't get this validated. So it's definitely more often, I would say like every few months, like every 3 or 4 months, like flying out somewhere. But then again, like I was on the site that was like 45-minute drive like every single day for me, like running the project. So plane-wise, I feel like every like few months, not too crazy, but.
And what was it like for you when you did your first work trip, like the logistics? I think we touched on it earlier episode, like problems with getting a rental car and stuff, but like what was that like for you very first time? Because I feel like I felt so nervous to like book travel.
Yeah. So I'll talk about my current company because I traveled a little bit with my first company, but I think I already told that first story. So for this trip, we were going to New Jersey and then Connecticut. And we have a travel department, so she helped me book. I booked the whole trip. I emailed her what I needed. I also got my coworker, got his stuff all set too. So we get there, and it was so interesting because my coworker had never, rented a car before. So he's like, oh, you take care of the rental because, and he is like a few years older than me. So it's just, funny to think about because usually I feel like it's the more senior member needs to book everything. And like, so I get there, we get the rental car. I remember it took so long. We flew into Newark. Of course, it's like scary, busy airport.
Huge
rental
airport,
car, then we drove. Yeah. And then we drove, I think it was like an hour to the hotel. And then I just like had the rental keys. So I felt bad though because, if he wanted to go get food, like I was like, oh, you can have the keys or whatever. He just ordered food. So logistics wise, I did everything through the travel department. And now like we have a portal where your company credit card is hooked up. So you can just literally pick everything on your own. So I don't have to email anyone.
Oh,
so that's what I did for this past one. But the first time I was just so confused. And then we were like driving by New York on the way back to the airport at the end of the trip. And like the GPS just wasn't working. I took a right and I'm like in New York City, like with a rental car that my company paid for, like thinking I'm going to crash.
It's terrifying.
Like, oh my God. This was just, that was like not very fun. But so then we drove from like the New Jersey site to Connecticut. So it was kind of a significant drive. It was like 3 hours.
Wow.
So that was kind of, But, and then did hotel and just lived the life in Connecticut.
Yeah.
There was no food around. It was so fun to figure out.
Yeah, so when you go to these places, is it kind of more like in the middle of nowhere, or is it like near cities, or does it just depends?
So it depends. The Connecticut one, nothing. There's nothing there. Mm-hmm. It was like the Panera was like 45 minutes away. I was like, okay.
Oh my gosh.
Not doing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like Oxford again. I felt like I was back in school. The New Jersey one of the New Jersey sites is actually really close to the boardwalk, which was nice. Then the last one that I went this past week, it was like, again, middle of nowhere. Like I was talking to the front desk guy and he's like, yeah, I'm surprised like you're here. It's like, me too.
Oh my gosh.
But how about you? How does that work for your company?
Yeah, so we have I think you were saying you guys maybe switched over to a portal. We kind of have a similar thing where on our homepage, like you can go into the travel section and we use this site. It's called Concur.
Same.
Concur. Oh, Concur twins.
Love it.
So we like I have always been just, if you need to go on a trip, basically the steps are that you tell your manager, hey, I'm going to go on this trip. These are the days. Is that okay with you? They just are like, yeah, thanks for telling me. And then you go on Concur and you book what airport you want to fly out of and fly into, what hotel you want to get, and what, like if you want to get a rental car. So a lot of times on these trips, I have gone with account managers, and account managers in our company are basically like the number one like customer relationship person. Like they always have the same customer. Like their job is kind of just to like keep the customer happy. So if project managers travel to sites, a lot of times they'll come with just to like kind of show their face too. I will usually let the account manager like take the lead and like be like, okay, I'm thinking about like doing a trip. Did you want to come with me? What days work for you? And then I'll let them kind of like book their travel arrangements, and then I will use that as a guide for me. So like if they're at a certain hotel, I'll try to get the same hotel. Like I'll look at their travel plans because they'll usually send out the itinerary, and I'll see like what airport they're flying into, whatever. So I have always been able to get into the same hotel as my account manager, except for this past trip where I went to Florida. And I was like your coworker with the rental car. Like, I never got a rental car because I was just scared because I've never done it before. And I didn't know what to do. So I've always just been like, oh, like, let's all carpool so that only one person has a rental car. But this past time that I went to Florida, the account manager's hotel was sold out when I went to book my travel arrangements, so I had to stay at a different hotel and get my own car. And that was just, again, on Concur, and it was a little bit dicey. Like, I was a little bit nervous because I've never done a rental car before, but basically I had flown into this airport before and we use Hertz, so I had gone to, like, the Hertz station before with the account manager last time we came to Florida, which was, like, a year ago. So I kind of, like, knew what to do, but I think if I was at a new airport, that would have been really, like, giving me so much anxiety because I wouldn't know what to do. But anyway, at this airport, you had to get onto a shuttle bus, which would take you to the Hertz, like, rental car place. So you have to ask or just, like, make sure you're reading the little, like, flashing light sign on the buses when they're driving by, make sure you get on the right bus. And then I just went into the Hertz thing, or I got off the bus and they were like, are you a gold member? And I was like, I have never rented a car before. Can you just tell me where to go? And they're like, oh my gosh, you're such a newbie. Go into this building. So I just, pretty much, my only advice that I can give on that is ask a lot of questions, because a lot of times the people, like, that's their job, is to help you. So I was just asking all these people, like, oh, is this the line I'm supposed to get in? Or, like, asking the people in front of me, like, hey, are you getting a rental car too? So lots of questions at first, and then dropping it off was also awkward at the end of the trip because I, like, didn't know where I was supposed to go, but again, I was just asking a lot of questions. So it can be definitely nerve-wracking at first to, like, book your first travel if you've never done it before.
Yeah, definitely. Especially, like, if you're traveling with people, I always get nervous about, like, making sure it's the same one. So I double check, like, 3 times. But it's funny because we also use Hertz. And another story. So I, again, always, like, with my family on trips, we would go to the counter and then we talk to them. Yeah. So on this audit trip with the senior auditor, she obviously is, you know, the more senior member. So she booked the car. And she's, like, a President's Club member because she travels so much. Oh. So she literally just, like, looked to make sure her name was, like, on a board. And then she, like, walked to the car. I was like, oh, my God, that was, like, 2 seconds. I was like, oh, do we have to check in? She's cool. Like, no. Yeah. So it's, like, so many it was, yeah. And then we went to, like, the United Club, too, in the airport because we had so much time because our flight got delayed. Also, one thing I wanted to ask, what is your usual, like, flight times? Do you guys, like, fly outside of business hours, or are you able to fly, like, during the morning?
It just kind of depends. So for this, we don't have, like, a set rule or anything, but for this particular Florida trip that I did a couple weeks ago, I left my flight flew out, I think, at, like, 8 a.m. from Milwaukee, and then landed at 4 p.m. in Florida, which ended up working out because we had a scheduled dinner that night. So a lot of times on travel days, we won't do anything. We might have, like, a dinner scheduled with the customer, or, like, just with our own internal employees who are going to go on the trip. But, yeah, we travel during work hours. What about you?
So we do usually as well. Like, this one for the audit trip, we flew out, like, 10 a.m., but the one I'm going to Pennsylvania, we fly out at, like, 8:30. But then at the end of the audit, we fly out, like, 5:30 p.m. So I got home, and the flight got delayed so much too. So I got home at, like, 10. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah. But then we're having a training in Wisconsin, actually. So we're getting, like, people from the East Coast to come to that. And it's, like, they have to be there Monday morning, so they have to fly out Sunday night. So I bet that's a little frustrating for them, yeah. But yeah, usually it's during business hours. And again, like, that first day, we don't do anything, like, we don't go on site. Actually, for the Pennsylvania one, though, we land at, like, 11 maybe. So I think we'll probably spend the afternoon on site. I don't know. I have no idea. That was, like, a really last minute trip that got added, like, 2 days ago. So I'll fill you in later.
We'll have to hear the update. But I like what you said about the Hertz President's Club. I don't have any experience with this, but I feel like there's like also the whole side of things that we are barely touching on, which is like the perks that you can get from traveling from work, whether that be like flight points on your, like if you fly a particular airline over and over again, racking up the points, or like rental car points, or if you have a travel credit card. Like, I don't really know too much about that. Like, I need to like learn more about that, because I know once you are getting those points and those perks, you can save them up and use them for like personal travel and stuff. But I don't know if you have any like experience or like expertise to share on that.
Yeah, so for my first job, my first role, I expensed everything on my own credit card. So I got so many points. That was awesome.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it was I mean, the downside was I wouldn't get it back till 2 months, 3 months later, just because of how the, expense, like how it worked. But again, if I was getting those points, I'm like, it's okay.
Yeah.
But for this for this company, we fly United, and I usually fly Southwest. Okay. And so she was telling me this week, she's like, get a United number. So I'm gonna try, and I have to look into that, because I'm wondering how you can apply it to your profile on Concur. So but other than that, I use my company card usually whenever I go travel. We get $50 for food a day. And usually when we're on site, they provide lunch, and like the hotels have free breakfast. So $50 sounds like a lot, and then you're like trying to get 3 meals out of it, and you're like, oh my god, this is actually not that much. Dang. So it's nice when they provide lunch and like you have the breakfast at the hotel and everything.
Right. I think I think we need to keep each meal under $20, and if you have a meal that's over $20, like that's fine, but you just need to have an explanation or something, like maybe it was like the only place you could go. But a lot of times when I said like the account managers are like joining us on our trips, and they have a way higher limit than the project managers do, so they typically will just pick up the bill every time. And like my boss is always like, if you go with an account manager, make sure they're getting the bill, because we don't have like as high of a limit. But that's another whole thing, totally dependent on your company policy and like what is allowed when you travel, that you might not think about before going on a work trip.
Definitely. Yeah, I have some friends at Deloitte, and I know that their allowance is like $80 a day for food, which is so nice. But so you actually mentioned one thing about your logistics. So you mentioned how you kind of ask your boss when you can go on these trips and everything. So do you usually not travel with him, or does it depend kind of on the project?
Yeah, it's just dependent on the project. And with each project manager, you are given the project, kind of how have talked about in previous episodes, but like you are the owner of the project. So like you can kind of do whatever you want, like with it. Some project managers don't always travel to site. I like to, just because I am still in the, I feel like, learning phase. So if I can get like a more senior person to travel with me from a different department. So a lot of times like one of our specific technical service engineers will be interested in coming to the site or like meeting the customer. So I'll kind of like let the project team know, like all the like key stakeholders who maybe have a hand in the project, be like, hey, just so you guys know, we're booking travel if anyone wants to come with. So yeah, we don't like need permission from our boss, but just we let him know so that he has like a master calendar for everybody, so he knows like, oh, probably can't get in touch with Libby during the day because she'll be traveling or like be on a site these days or whatever.
Nice, very nice.
So let's get into a juicy topic, travel outfits, because I have an embarrassing story about the first time I traveled and my outfit. So I want to hear from you. How did you know what to wear when you went on your very first work trip?
Yes. Okay. So I think in general, I take a more professional, like, I like to dress more professionally. Like, even if I am able to wear jeans, I wear like business clothes. I don't know. I guess all my jeans have rips in it. So yeah, all my jeans have rips in it. So we're just going to go with business pants. So but again, like I talked about in that interview where I dressed up so fancy and I like no one was dressed up that fancy. Like you got to know where you're going to be. So again, I go on site and a lot of these people are dressed in jeans. They're on the manufacturing floor. So usually I just try to take closed-toed shoes for sure. If you're an engineer, closed-toed shoes. I take my flats, like my just slide-ons. And just, I like to layer is also one thing because you don't know how cold it's going to be. That's kind of like a silly one. But I always take like a short sleeve, always get like a little cardigan, or like a long sleeve too, because I feel like long sleeve is probably better for the production floor. So I guess, yeah, the first work trip I had, I just dressed really professionally and no one else was dressed that way, but it was fine because like I could, I had my closed-toed shoes. It wasn't like I was a nuisance, like, oh, I can't go on the floor because I'm wearing like a skirt or something.
And like again, to be dressed up than to be dressed down.
True, exactly. I feel like if you're coming from corporate too, it's like they want you to dress a little more nicer if you're going to visit the sites and everything. And then like in regards to steel-toed boots, like when you need to be on the production floor, I do not bring mine with, even though they're super light. I could, but they usually have like little slide-ons that you could just put on easily on your own shoes. So
are those the like adapters that you can put on or whatever? I think we have some on our shop floor too for visitors that come. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, like, whenever you visit a site, they're going to provide you with all the PPE.
That's nice.
So, yeah, so I would say, I mean, that's kind of how I just handled it. Closed-toed shoes, pants, long sleeve, and then I feel like I totally shouldn't wear as much jewelry as I do when I visit, but if they need me to take it off, I just take it off. But I'm like, I like it, So
what do you wear on the airplane though? Do you wear business pants or jeans? Like I feel like that's always an awkward situation, or can be.
Yeah. So this past Monday, I knew we weren't going to go on site, so I wore, again, this is like my first audit trip. I kind of wanted to dress a little nicer, so I wore jeans that just didn't have rips in it. Like I would wear them to the office on like casual Fridays. And then what shirt was I wearing? I was just wearing like a white turtleneck sweater with a jacket. But the senior auditor was wearing like yoga pants and just like comfy clothes. Because like obviously she's established. She doesn't need to like look nice or anything. Not saying she looks ugly or anything. Oh my gosh, I hope she doesn't hear this. But so yeah, and she was like wearing her gym shoes. I was just wearing like Air Force Ones, like closed-toed shoes. Yeah. So, but then on the way back, we came straight from the office, so I was in my work clothes. So, yeah, in general though, because I usually travel with coworkers, I probably would put on those nicer jeans or the business pants, depending if we're gonna go on site, then for sure wear like whatever I'll wear on site. But yeah, how about you? So let's hear about this embarrassing story.
Oh my God. Okay, so I have my experience with travel prior to business trips has been like growing up being an ice skater and going on like trips with the team to competition, and we were always told what to wear, and it was always yoga pants and then the team shirt. So like we all looked the same so that our coach could like keep track of all 16 of these little ice skaters running around the airport. And then like so that's like my one like life experience with travel. And then like my other experience with travel is like going on family trips where obviously like it doesn't matter what you wear, like so probably like wearing yoga pants and maybe a big sweatshirt or something. So I had never had like a previous experience where I was traveling with someone that was senior to me, or like that like it was always just my family or my teammates with ice skating. So on my very first work trip, luckily it was with my boss, who is like my mentor also, and he's super chill. He's the one that I said, oh, you're building an army with the 3 little kids. And he's so chill. He's super nice. But I showed up to the airport in legging, or I think I wore yoga pants and just like a really big like what is it called? Like the waffle pattern shirts. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Like the waffle knit or whatever. Yeah. Like a really big, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Like a really big oversized long sleeve one of those that was from Urban Outfitters or something. And
I think I literally know the shirt you're talking about.
It's great.
I really liked it when you wore it at school. Yeah. Yes. I really liked it. Because it has like the pattern on the side, the fabric.
Yeah. So I
Very cute.
Whatever, it was comfy. And the guy, so I get to the airport first, and I'm like sitting at the gate waiting, and we were on the same flight, so my mentor walks up, and he's wearing like what he would wear to work, which we don't have to dress up. It's a pretty casual work environment. Like, men pretty much wear jeans and a flannel, and like when I'm on site, I'll wear jeans and a nice sweater, or if it's hot, like a collared shirt or something. But so he shows up, and he's wearing his steel-toed boots, jeans, and a flannel, which I guess it's not that weird. Like, what else is he gonna wear to travel on a plane? But I just felt like very out of place for some reason, because I felt like I looked super casual, like, compared to him, which I would, and because it was my first work trip, I didn't know if I was being disrespectful or not. Like now I know him, and I realize, like, it's no big deal, but you know what I mean? Like, this was, the first work trip was 2 months into my job, so I still, like, was getting to know people. And so, yeah, I had brought on that trip in my carry-on, I brought a pair of jeans, my steel-toed boots, and, like, a nice top to wear just in case, because I was like, I want to be comfy on the plane, but I also don't know what the etiquette is, so I brought the outfit just in case. And then when we ended up getting to the airport, to the place that we were going, I ended up changing into jeans, and I was like, oh, I just want to get out of my airport clothes, and he was like, oh, no problem, so he, like, waited for me by the bathroom while I changed. So I guess it wasn't that embarrassing, but I don't know. I just felt like out of place because I didn't know what to expect, and I was so used to just traveling so casually. So, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like when you start a position and you do something, especially like you said, it was like your first job out of school, like you're 2 months in. Yeah. I feel like we think it's so much worse. Like, I don't know. I just feel like we make it up in our heads that it's really not not as big as
it was probably no big deal. It was probably no big deal. And I remember being like feeling so bad. I was like, oh, like, wait, can you wait for me? I'm gonna go change real quick. Like, I'm going to the bathroom. Can you just wait here? Like, it was literally no big deal, but I just, like you said, made it up in my head that it was this crazy, embarrassing thing that I, like, wore the wrong thing to the airport. But now, it depends on, like, kind of like what you said, what the day is going to look like. Typically, it's just a travel day, so we're not going to the site. And the last trip where I flew and I knew that a coworker was going to be on my flight, he showed up wearing joggers and, like, a t-shirt, so I felt way more comfortable. And I also had shown up wearing leggings, like nice Lulu leggings, all black, and then like a just all black long sleeve. So it's not like it was flashy or anything, or like, inappropriate, but then this trip, I felt way more comfortable because he was also wearing joggers. So I was like, oh, perfect. I fit in.
Yeah. So for that embarrassing story one, were you going straight to site or were you guys going to the hotel?
I don't remember, but I feel like we might have been going. I feel like it might have been the type of thing, kind of how you were saying earlier, where our flight got in around noon and we did end up going to the power plant. And that's why I also packed those clothes just in case, because I didn't really know what our agenda was going to look like. And because I didn't want to be like the girl that's like in the airport being like, hold on, let me open my suitcase, and like exposing like everything in my suitcase to my coworker. So, yeah, that's my tip, I guess. If you don't know what to expect, if you have room in your carry-on, bring another pair of a different outfit just in case if you're like feeling anxious about that.
Yeah, definitely.
So I guess we kind of touched on it when we were talking about travel outfits, but we can probably go into it a little bit more, like the professional aspect versus the social aspect when we're traveling. So obviously when you are on site with your coworkers, it's totally professional, but do you guys do any like team bonding or anything outside of the site visits?
Yes. So my first time, like, on the Wisconsin site, my manager was actually there. So our team is very small. It's 3 of us total, including my manager. Mm-hmm. So we literally just went to, like, a sandwich place and got lunch together because we were on site together. So that was kind of like a team lunch. And then we did another one where this wasn't travel, though. We did, like, a team little happy hour. But usually, like, when I traveled to New Jersey, with just my other coworker, not my manager, we did not eat dinner together. We kind of just, like, kept to ourselves because I feel like we're both, I don't know, like we were fine. It wasn't weird or anything. We weren't like, okay,
Yeah.
you know, hate you, won't, you know, don't
No,
want to eat dinner
yeah.
with you. I think we were just, you know, both tired. We're like, okay, no big deal. But for this audit trip, I only went with one other auditor and we got dinner every single night. So that was fun. We tried all these different food places. But yeah, so I feel like other than that, social wise, we just have the dinners. We kind of keep it low key. But
yeah.
How about you guys?
Yeah, kind of the same thing and the more I've traveled, the more I feel comfortable about doing this. I think on my first work trip, I brought very minimal clothes just because I didn't know what to expect. I think I only packed one outfit a day, like my outfit that I'd be wearing to site, which is fine. But now that I've kind of traveled more and kind of know the routine, usually we will come back from the power plant around 4 or 5, and then we will have a planned dinner around 6 or 7. So now I will bring another outfit to go to dinner just because after being in the power plant all day, you're like, feel gross and sweaty. And so come back, shower, I put on a different outfit. And this is where I personally I feel comfortable with the people I work with to wear like what my typical style is outside of work. So like sometimes that might be I'll wear like the jeans with holes in them, like straight leg cute like Abercrombie jeans with holes in them, and then like a cute sweater. So or like a cute tank top. So I always make sure that like I don't have like any cleavage obviously, or like there's not any rips up by my butt or something, but like I will let my like personality show a little bit more in the clothes, that like if we're doing something social. But have you ever I want to see if you have ever traveled with guys and this has happened to you, because I am always traveling with my male coworkers and it's sometimes awkward when it's just us two for dinner, because I have had like restaurants think that we're on a date before. Has that ever happened to you?
See, that makes me so uncomfortable, and I know like they're probably not thinking that. You know, the waitress or waiter doesn't really care, but I always think about that too. And like even with like the girl I went with, you know, this past week, I was like, I wonder if people think we're a couple. Like, and I'm like, oh my god, clearly like we're wearing business clothes. Like, oh my gosh. But yeah, to your point, actually, of like being able to be more like willing or like open with your style after work hours. I've like met her before, but like we obviously, you know, bonded over this trip. So yeah, I was like wearing like yoga pants to dinner. Once I saw that she was wearing yoga pants on Monday, it wasn't really a big deal. But I do have a suggestion for everyone listening. I would suggest bringing things that you can mix and match. So like solid black pants, navy pants. I always bring like my like a corporate like quarter zipper polo. That's always a go-to. And again, the layering. So yeah. And then like for dinner wise, I bring another outfit, but it's like very thin, like whatever I could pack and fit.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I don't know. It's just so awkward because I've always been like, oh, I wonder if the waiter or waitress thinks we're on a date. And I've been in situations where, or like it's always awkward too, because when they bring the bill and they're like, oh, are you guys together? You know, and it's well, yeah, we are, but like not like that. Or like I have this one coworker that I go on work trips with that he is always like, we need to do something fun. Like if we're not, like once the work is over, let's always try to do something fun. So like this past work trip, we went and did like Top Golf, and it was just him and I was like, they totally think we're on a date right now, even though we're just like, because he's like a little bit younger, he's in his 30s, so I'm like, oh my god, like I just don't want anybody to say, oh, like such a cute couple, because that would be so awkward.
I know. How would you even address that? Oh my god, I don't know what I would do.
I would just like awkwardly laugh.
Yeah. I think it helps though when they like, I don't know for you guys if you have corporate cards, but like when they hand their corporate card and it says like the name of the company on it, I think that helps for sure. Like ease any suspicions. But I totally think about that all the time too. Yeah.
So I like what you said about mixing and matching with clothes. So yeah, I guess is there like a checklist or anything that you use when you're packing to make sure you have everything covered, or like major like pieces that you make sure you always bring on a work trip?
Yeah, so I just bring solid pants. Like I have patterned pants, but just the solid works for me. I bring like one specific pair of shoes. It's like the flats that I mentioned. And then I have these sweaters from Zara that I love. Maybe we can link them in the notes, but they're like the same cut, same thing, but it's just I have it in like all the colors. So I bring like a black, like I brought like a blue one this time because it kind of matched like my quarter zip for the company. But yeah, so I grabbed one of those and then just a cardigan. It's usually I have like a black and white one that I use. So like I kind of go with solid colors. And I always pack like more than I need. So that's why I want to emphasize to everyone, pack like thin things, like the quarter zip you can literally just roll up, like super thin for dinner. Like my long sleeve shirt, just rolled it up, it's like very simple stuff. But how about you?
Yeah, I will bring like one pair of blue jeans, one pair of black jeans. I will, and I know it depends on company, but luckily my company pays for a checked bag. So I am able to get away with packing a little bit more, because I can use like a larger suitcase and don't have to necessarily always bring a carry-on. But now I just recently got two women's Nike golf polos with my company logo on it. So that's pretty sweet. So I'll pretty much always be bringing those from now on. And then if it's cold, I'll bring like a black quarter zip and a gray quarter zip. I will bring like a loungy outfit, like a big t-shirt and athletic shorts to wear like while I'm in the hotel that aren't like pajamas, but like, when you just are kind of in your off times if you don't have to be doing anything. And then another thing that I want to mention as a tip is if you can afford the space, bring a steamer. If you can't afford the space, there is this spray that you can get. I don't know what the name of it is called, but it's like the de-wrinkle spray, and I have a travel size, and I always bring that with to like try to de-wrinkle my shirts. Or you can use like the hotel iron, but because my clothes are always wrinkly.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So it's funny actually. On my first trip with my coworker, he was like asking me, he's like, "Did you find the iron in the hotel?" I was like, "Oh yeah, it's like behind this closet." And he's like, "Oh my god, I didn't see it." He's like, "I just steamed up the shower." He's like, "I just left my
gosh.
It worked." I was like, "Oh, good." Yeah. But like touching on this social like aspect of these work trips, I feel like even when business hours are done, you're still kind of on, or you have to be on, because a large part of work in general, in any position, not even just STEM, is, how people like you and how you get along with others. That's definitely what people, unfortunately take into consideration when, you get promotions. And even my manager has told me this too, just like a little tidbit. But, so like, I don't know, I would say keep that in mind. There's definitely always a social aspect. So if someone says, "Oh, let's go to dinner," and you really, really want to be in your bed, totally understandable, but maybe consider going to that dinner, especially if it's with a new team or someone that you haven't really had too much contact with. But I wanted to mention that for sure.
I totally agree with you on that, and because I think a lot of work trips too are like building relationships with people. And I totally agree with you. If you are feeling like you're so tired and you just want to lay in bed, I try to always say yes to everything on work trips. So whether it's like someone asking me to go to dinner or hey, do you want to grab drinks when we get back from the plant, whatever. And I like what you mentioned about like make sure that even though it's not work hours or you're not at the plant, like you're still professional, because I have like definitely had work trips where we like get drinks and like get drunk like with each other, like with our coworkers, and I always the first time that happened I felt so awkward because I was like, I don't want to say something super stupid when I'm drunk or like come off and say something offensive. So that can also be something that's a little bit tricky, I feel like, because you want to have fun and like say yes, but that's just like another thing to consider. I think I haven't said anything like embarrassing yet, like, but I definitely have had a coworker get a little too drunk, and one time he was like, "Libby, you're just like the most interesting person I've ever met." And I like never let him live it down. I'm like, "Oh, you get to travel with the most interesting person."
That's so funny. Yeah, that's a good point, because also I think that's nowadays a large part of company cultures is like the drinking part of it, and it's hard to navigate, especially like you don't want to feel left out or feel awkward, like, oh, I'm not drinking, or you also don't want to do something that you don't, feel comfortable with. So I always I always stick with one Michelob Ultra. That's my go-to.
Yes.
Like, sometimes they laugh. They're like, oh, beer? And I was like, yeah, I know. I like it. Like, I'm not going to try these fancy cocktails. Like, I just try to stay away from and then just kind of make it as a joke. Like, oh, we're trying new food. Like, I'll just stick with something I know for the drink at least. So that's how I kind of try to play it. But yeah, that's definitely a big part of these work trips, unfortunately. And it makes some people uncomfortable, but just laugh it off. Just be like, what? I want a Diet Coke today. I've been craving it all day. And
another thing
most
is,
of the time
like,
they won't push you.
And if you do get invited to these situations where like I have been invited to go get a drink at the bars after, or we call it pool beers. Me and this one account manager, we love doing pool beers when we go on work trips together, and we'll just like get a 12-pack and sit by the pool after work. My tips are always bring water with you. So I always bring a water bottle on a work trip, and if you're going to one of these situations, bring the water so that you can like obviously pace yourself and like make sure you aren't drinking too much. But also have one drink less than what your limit is. So like, for example, I know that after 3 beers, I get tipsy. So like by the 4th one, I'm feeling it. So if I'm on a work trip, I will make sure to try to only have like 2 drinks or something, because that's one less than the drink that I know would make me tipsy, if that makes sense.
It's not very Wisconsin of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, again, and like the beer thing, like I literally got a comment once, like they're like, oh, you're not doing they're like laughing that I was getting beer. I was like, I didn't expect that comment. I was like, okay, I don't know.
Yeah.
But again, just handle it like, in a way, like, I don't know. Like in that moment we were getting like Indian food. So I was like, oh, well, I've never had Indian food, so might as well have something I know. But I don't know. I guess maybe like always be ready, I don't know, for like a little comment. I know that's not something you want to be prepared for, but it's just easier if you have like a little sly remark, like, no big deal.
I think it's funny too, because I remember this one work trip, we went to a really fancy steakhouse, and we had probably like 7 or 8 people from the customer joining in on this dinner, and everybody was ordering like really fancy cocktails, and it was kind of funny to see what people's go-to are. So like, for example, my mentor that I've been mentioning with the 3 kids, he ordered like, I don't know what type of liquor it was, but he ordered like liquor, for example, let's just say it's bourbon, just straight up. So he literally just got like a glass of liquor and was sipping on it. And I was like, oh my God, I feel like I did not expect you to order that. And like, I think I just ordered a glass of wine because I was like, that's easy, like predictable, like, I know I'm going to like it, whatever. But that's like another part of it. No, in regards to the like work trip dinners, have you ever been on a work trip where there's like a lot of people that you don't know, and it feels like everybody's having conversation and you like don't really know how you can contribute, or you're just kind of like sitting there quietly?
Actually, yes. At my first job, we did like a happy hour thing, and it was kind of also weird because it was COVID, like prime time, so you had to be seated at these tables. So like,
okay,
it was just funny because like I had like one other person I knew, but we both were just like trying to mingle with the client, and it was just it was funny because we're like, this is just, we want to go home, but not too much other than that. Like, it's been smaller travel, but I just remember that one because we were like seated awkwardly, and it was just funny because it was like we were looking from afar. It's like, oh, he's having fun. Like, that table's having super fun, like lots of fun.
Right.
How about you?
So the customers that I deal with, like, at these power plants typically are, like, middle-aged white men with, like, big beer bellies and mustaches. And, like, just to give a visual, that's, like, the type of people I'm dealing with. And so there's totally been times where we're sitting at a dinner and, like, I'm the only girl sitting at the dinner and I have nothing to contribute to the conversation. And there have been times where I, like, kind of feel awkward because sometimes you can tell some people will be, I feel like, nice and try to get me into the conversation and be like, oh, it's like, what do you like to do in your personal time or whatever. But a lot of times they're just like, having a conversation that like I can't even contribute to. Or it's funny when it's older men and they're like, oh, so what college did you go to? Like, you can clearly tell they don't have like anything to really talk to you about. So I guess I'd say like, if that happens to you, don't feel awkward, because it happens to everyone probably, and like just smile and wave. That's all that you can do to deal with it.
And they probably feel awkward too. So
just be polite and try to make good small talk, I guess. But I think with that, we can probably wrap up this episode. I know we have a lot of other points that we want to touch on, but I would love to hear from you guys if you like this style episode. I think we totally have more advice that we can share on work travel. What do you think, Lexi?
A lot. I love talking about work travel. So yeah, we can definitely do a part 2. And then maybe we can ask or answer like specific questions. That could be good. Yeah.
Do a little Q&A work travel tuned. Style.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That'd be fun. We should do that. So stay tuned for that poll on Instagram.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. And as always, please be sure to give us a rating and review and share the podcast with your friends. Just to touch on it again, once we hit 100 reviews on Apple Podcasts, we will be giving away a $100 Visa gift card. So there's definitely an incentive there for you to leave us an awesome review.
Okay, so you can find me at Engineer Lexi on Instagram and TikTok. We've been getting better with our content, I must say.
Yes,
We're still working. Thank you.
I like your content.
I
like the work trip content, all the TikToks.
I have some more coming out, but I like took videos separately. It's so hard to edit these. Like, props to you, I was gonna say. Like, you get content out like all the time, and I was like, yeah, I'll do it later. Like, I was trying to do it on the plane, and then I was, like, embarrassed. I was like,
it's a lot
I was, like,
of work.
trying to take a video of, like, the airplane. Yeah. I was trying to take a video of the airplane. I was like, I hope the person next to me isn't looking at me right now.
Nobody sees.
But, yeah. But, yes, so that's where you can find me.
And you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at LibbyB on the label. And then the podcast, if you want to follow the podcast, is at My Best Friends and Engineer on Instagram and TikTok.
And BFE podcast on YouTube.
All right, this was a good episode. Are we ready to close it out and hopefully say our outro together?
I think so. I hope the lag doesn't mess us up, if there is one.
I know.
We'll blame it on the lag
when we do this. Yeah, we just always blame
it on
the lag.
Yeah, I think I'm going to connect to my phone next time. We'll see. I feel like it's my Wi-Fi messing us up.
We'll see.
Okay.
All right. I'm Libby. Right.
And I'm Lexi. And thanks for listening to my
best friends and engineer.
Oh God! I could totally hear my echo in the back of your mic. I was like, oh God.
I was trying to like wait for a cue, but oh well. We'll get it next time.
No cue. Just.